Raiders breaking news coming at you here from Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report in the Silver and Black. They have gone out and they have signed cornerback Eric Stokes. I like this move, and you could even say that I'm stoked about it. Spam it down below. Give me a badats, whatever you want to give. But to me, I felt like all day the Raiders were a team that, when you go out fishing, you're looking for that move, and finally, we're able to reel something in. I'm not going to lie to y'all. This is a player that if you believe in Pete Carroll, if you believe in this organization, if you believe in our defensive coaching staff, which honestly, I really, really think that people should, this should be a move that at least excites you a little bit. He's a really good athlete. 6 foot, 195 pounds, was a first-round pick out of Georgia, number 29 overall to the Green Bay Packers just back in 2021. The reason why that I have confidence in Eric Stokes is because I have confidence in Pete Carroll. The way that I would explain this signing to Raiders fans in the most simplest way possible that comes to my mind right now, when the Raiders signed Caleb Von Chasen last season, if you hit the panic button, I understand why. Because everybody was telling you Caleb Von Chasen is a bust. But I believed in Rob Leonard. I believed in Patrick Graham. If you have that exact same thought process, I think that you should like what in a young man here in Eric Stokes. But look at his coverage stats. This is where people are going to poke holes in his game because this is where his biggest, I think, some of his issues are. I'll admit, when you go look at some of the PFF grades, and the PFF grades honestly are not bad. But when you are a first-round pick, you have higher expectations. And I think because he has some of those higher expectations, people are definitely a little bit more judgmental of him. And it's deserving so. He has not lived up to that first-round pick overall. So what I want to know down below is this. I want to know a one-word reaction to the signing of Eric Stokes. 1 year, $4 million. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which is the number one thing I want you to answer to. So you're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. Believe. I believe in Pete Carroll. I believe in this coaching staff. And that's why I believe in this Eric Stokes move. Sometimes, you don't really realize some of these minor moves that end up being really good ones where, again, Caleb Von Chasen was a player that nobody really believed in. First-round pick out of LSU, washed away and ends up having a career year, 5 sacks with the Raiders. Think about a player like Malcolm Kuntz. You believed in him, and we were excited about him coming back because of Rob Leonard. The one thing that Pete Carroll has historically been able to do is build defensive backs, whether it's corners, whether it's safeties. His expertise in that department, I really think is looked at almost like somebody like a Rob Leonard. Joe Woods is a well-respected DB coach. Somebody along the lines like Marcus Robinson is a well-respected coach. And then on top of that, Patrick Graham is a damn good coach. So because of all of those people, you should believe in Eric Stokes, where I was live on the Raiders Report, and I am live right now. And I was saying, if I were to give this a grade, I would give it a C grade that might be able to turn into a B. Just like Caleb Von Chasen last season, I thought was a good move, an average move that turned into a good move. And not every single move that you're going to make is going to be a slam dunk. But if you want the opportunity to be competing in the playoffs, a long trip, you need solid depth players. And to me, I look at somebody like Eric Stokes as being a good overall depth player that you can add to some of the moves that the Raiders have already made here in free agency because they've been really stacking it up on the defensive side of the football. So to me, they're going out there and they want guys that can compete. Like Alex Kappa is the only offensive player that this team signed, and I think it's because they know him personally, so they felt okay to be able to bring him in from a depth perspective. Max Crosby, defense. Geno's obviously the quarterback. I'll talk about this more in a second. Adam Butler on the defensive side of the football. Jeremy Chin, the defense. Malcolm Kuntz, defense. Lonnie Johnson Jr., defense. Landon Roberts, defense. And now again, you're going with Eric Stokes here on defense. I know that a lot of Raiders fans are worried that you're losing out on Trevon Merrick, Robert Spillane. You're losing out on Nate Hobbs. I hear you loud and clear. But if there was one thing that Pete Carroll's teams have always preached, if there's one thing that Pete Carroll's teams for a fact are going to bring, and it's the word he says all the time, it probably should have been my one-word reaction, compete. So you're telling me right now we're going to put Eric Stokes, a round one talent, up against Jack Jones, a player that we know has talent, but sometimes Jack needs a little bit of an extra, bump in the back here. Because when he's had that father figure, which I hope Antonio Pierce and Jack Jones will get mad at me for using that term, but, when Antonio Pierce has been that guy in Jack Jones' corner that believes in him, that pushes him, you've seen the best version out of Jack Jones. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm looking at a young man in Jacorian Bennett. That's my number one cornerback right now. But I don't really want Jacorian to be a number one. I want Jacorian to be a cornerback number two. So then Eric Stokes and Jack Jones, right now as it stands, they can go out there and they can battle for that final cornerback spot. I like that idea. If you told me Eric Stokes and Jack Jones are cornerback 3, cornerback 4, I don't think that that's a problem to be in at all. That still gives us an opportunity then to go out and get another good corner in the NFL draft. This is low-key a good move by the Raiders. And again, it's not a move that's going to light up big billboards. But sometimes you got to have those good underlining moves because you need a long season ahead and a team that was absolutely zapped by injuries last season. And you saw we did not have good depth. It doesn't surprise me the amount of smart moves that this Raiders team is going out there and they're doing, but I also think that the Raiders waited for something, and I think that they waited for a certain reason to go out and make a move today, and I'm going to tell you why I think that they did exactly that. Before I do, hey, shout out to our awesome sponsor here. They're hooking us up with some Raiders jerseys. If you need a new Raiders jersey because maybe you had a Merrick Spillane or a Hobbs one, go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys. We got some OGs, some Hall of Famers in there, hundreds, and I mean hundreds of different jerseys. I'll also say this. If you're like, Mitch, I don't need a jersey, but that shirt you got on is fresh. That jacket you got on is fresh. If you go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys, you click on that link, and then you type in the search bar, Raiders jackets. You type in that search bar, Raiders t-shirts. I don't know if it's still available, but that's where I got it, and I think that you guys might be able to get it there too. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description here of today's show. So here's one of the reasons why I think the Raiders waited all day today to go out and sign a player. And hear me out, and this is literally just something that I was literally thinking about because I was going to make a show late tonight about why the Raiders didn't make any moves. And now, obviously, I know the Raiders made a move, but do we all agree with this statement? The Raiders have been safe so far in free agency, and you can tell that they are thinking about every decision very methodically. To me, I would answer that question as a yes. So if you're the Las Vegas Raiders and something just happened where you got NFL draft comp picks, and I've had a lot of people ask me, Mitch, does that mean the Raiders have 11 comp picks or 11 draft picks now? No, the Raiders do not have 11 draft picks. We only have 9, but I've been saying that we've had 9 because it's been expected, and when I say it's expected, it was like a 99% chance that the Raiders are going to have 6th-round picks. So me, when I did mock drafts, when I did all these other moves, I already went ahead and I said, I believe that you're going to have a 6th-round pick. So we still only have 9 picks. But it is officially official. My point is, if you were the Raiders and you were a little bit maybe unsure if you were going to get one of those 6 picks for whatever reason, you could have waited to sign somebody that was a little bit maybe of a bottom-level roster. Here's the other reason why I am just this much more confident in a guy like Geno Smith. Think about how methodical, again, and careful this Raiders organization has been. The only player that they have signed on offense is Alex Kappa. Again, somebody that is John Spytek's guy and somebody that organization trusts. Every other position, every other spot that they've re-signed or signed has been on the defensive side of the football. And I almost wonder, and I've been somebody that's been sitting up here going, I want a wide receiver. I want Mekhi Becton. I want offensive line. I want offense, which it's because we've had a lot of defense. Imagine if an organization, because technically this trade isn't officially official yet, right? And that trade doesn't become officially official until the new league year, which is 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. What if, and imagine how mad you would be if the Raiders went out and signed some players that we thought was going to be a good fit with Geno Smith, and then a contract issue happens. I've seen so many different shit with the Raiders, from Cliff Kingsbury to other teams' deals backing out on them. Like, there was a report earlier yesterday, the Jordan Schultz one. He thought that Milton Williams, I think, was going to go to the Carolina Panthers, and he ended up going, to the New England Patriots. Sometimes deals are thought to be done, and they're not done. So imagine how mad you would have been if the Raiders would have spent some money on offense to go out and get a player, and then some bullshit happens, and it can even be on Seattle's side, why that trade gets thrown away, and now it doesn't happen. I'm a believer that the Raiders are going to be really active tomorrow because of the amount of things that are going to become officially official, and then the money that you're going to get from cutting Andre James, the move and money that you're going to be able to get from moving on from Gardner Minshew. And I've been sitting around waiting. Are the Raiders going to trade away Andre James? I could see some of these teams now that finally got that officially official comp pick saying, okay, now we can go ahead and we can make this move before the new league begins. But I also want Raider fans, and I'm going to leave it like this because, again, I think tomorrow is actually going to be a little bit of a crazier day, obviously, than what today was. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure those notifications are turned on. But think about how methodical and careful the Raiders have been Think about it. Think about how big of a risk you thought it was for the Raiders to go out and trade for Geno Smith and give up a third-round pick. In my mind, I think the Raiders are so effing confident in how good Geno Smith is going to be that they said, we're getting ready to pay you $40 to $45 million a year, and we're going to give up a third-round pick. Why? Because that organization believes in Geno Smith that much. Seeing the way that this organization has operated this entire offseason, especially in free agency, and knowing how much I believe in this organization, I am so much more locked into Geno Smith being a Raider of this team, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for the Silver and Black, because I honestly do believe this is the regime that is finally going to figure it out for the Raiders, because they are doing things like a smart organization does, and I hope that you're ready for a big day tomorrow, because I think it's going to be a wild, wild day. If you want to see some of the other moves that happened after we ended our live show, Justin Reed ended up going to the New Orleans Saints. Sam Martin, punter, Kevin Givens, Robert Tonyan ended up going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Johnny Hecker to the Titans. Jacoby Brissett going to the Arizona Cardinals. Cole Christensen, linebacker. Brady Christensen, guard. Nick Neiman, linebacker, ends up going to the Houston Texans. Nick Westbrook was a little bit upset about this one. This is a guy that I would have liked the Raiders to sign, but after everything I just said about Geno, I can understand why they didn't make any moves today on the offensive side of the football. Ashton Javis to DeAndre Hopkins. This was a big one where, I'm not going to lie, my heart skipped a beat when I saw DeAndre, and then I saw R.A. I'm like, no effing way, man. He's going to the Baltimore Ravens. Xavier Wood, interesting move there by Tennessee, and then Devin Bush, he ended up just going to the Browns. But the latest move, the Las Vegas Raiders, they just signed Eric Stokes to a one-year, $4 million deal. If you believe in Pete Carroll, if you believe in this coaching staff, there's no denying that he's got talent. He's going to compete with Jack Jones for a cornerback 3, cornerback 4 battle with this type of coaching staff. I'm going to be honest with you. This is a sneaky good move. C grade right now. I think it can turn into a B. Eric Stokes, I promise you this. You go out there, you show off for Raider Nation, and you be that cornerback that this team has desperately, desperately needed, a true outside dog for a long time, we will rally behind you, and I hope that we get to see it this season, and I hope that we get to see a very, very good defense for the Las Vegas Raiders.